people are not considering this insight. There is this huge energy demand, right? And the American lobby wants,
Wait,
yeah,
energy demand. We're talking about like. Did you want to add to this Musab conversation? If
yeah, no, I don't. I just wanted
okay,
to,
so
yeah, add
let's
my
go back.
insight.
We'll get back to you when we get to your position on the
Can
list,
I add on
guys.
it?
If you want to talk if you want to add to the Musab comment, just keep it very short because there are a lot of people on the list.
So
So
it's not
Okay.
about
Samantha,
Musab comment. It's about liberation of Iran, but it's not about the Musab comment.
yeah, so we will come back to you when we get to your position on the list. So Samantha,
Okay, I just put this in the chat. That's Mossab Yosef's handler. I've had this theory like forever that Mossab Hassan Yosef kind of trauma bonded, like Stockholm syndrome, with his handler. So I would be very curious what's his handler's views on Iran.
oh,
Yeah.
I think that
okay,
might be worth
That's a
looking
very
into.
good point, and I would love for you to deep dive that and let us know what you find, because that's a very good
Okay,
point.
I
Like a
can
mentor situation, you pick up things from people. Very good.
deep dive into that.
Also, just
okay.
check on his sales of his book and the rating he has lately, because he might be just gone broke. So MEK is a good source of money.
Yeah.
I,
Yes. Yes.
okay. So I don't think that they have anything to do with MEK. He hates communists and stuff like that. I think that the main thing here is mostly about the Kurds. So I think that he support in general Kurds separatist, and that is the whole deal. And like if then maybe talk with Kurds or something like that. I know that there were some things that happened between the Kurds and dynasty and stuff like that. If you ask me, that is probably the main reason for all of his remarks, not anything else. I know that you are against the separatism. I'm just saying that that is probably the main reason, not something against
So
Iranians.
one thing we could do is we could get Iranian Kurdish people to tell him to fuck off. Say I'm a Kurd and fuck off. Like that would be a good way to push back against him. That would be a good campaign to get Kurdish Iranians to come out and say I'm Kurdish and fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah, I've already seen many people, like all the Iranians are on it. But at the same time, he has 300,000 followers, but each of these posts are getting maybe 400, 500 likes. So that was my hesitation on should we actually give him attention or should we just let him say whatever he wants? That's why I was reluctant a little bit.
Good points. I think he needs a response though. Because even if his posts are not going to get a response, he's probably going to get invited to somewhere big and he's going to add this to his points.
Yeah, true. Oh,
Fox News, yeah.
Also, Tulsi gave his mind on that. He went hard on him, actually, lately.
Oh, okay.
everyone on X is going off on him. So, yeah.
No, Tulsi like did it on his report. Was
Yeah.
like on news.
He was like kind of F-bombing, but he doesn't say the whole word. So he says like, I forgot what he was doing. He was like self-censoring, but he went pretty off on it. Yep. Okay. And Nare, I love
think
the point that, a lot of Israelis, the biggest reason, and a lot of Jewish in diaspora, we know him as being a person who is strongly on the right side of a conflict that felt very obvious to us. And so to have him now in this conflict doing something very against Pahlavi, it's very concerning. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that concern very much.
Because I did notice a couple of comments that were saying they were Jewish and they were saying, well, maybe he knows something we don't. So it's like, I don't want this to change the mindsets of Israelis towards the truth about Iran and Iranians. That was my main concern.
I don't think there's a risk of that, except insofar as people who don't know any better just assume that he's not insane. I also noticed that he seems to be drawing energy from what he views as haters when everyone tells him Kosananat to his bullshit about
Oh my god.
content.
Since
something like that.
he posts a random map of a free Kurdistan, which includes territories of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. So I posted one map that the whole Middle East is divided into two. One is Israel and one is Iran. So that's my proposal for the Middle East. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's go to the next
Okay.
person.
Also, if the Pahlavi thing for any reason doesn't work out, Nare is my number 2. So next, Daniel Dome.
I watched that video of that guy who ended his life. It was also an Tusi video, and it just crushed
Oh,
me in so
but
many levels.
I think we shouldn't talk. By the way, guys, I think we shouldn't talk about that. Let me actually read this from Susie. Okay, so here. So let me actually read this thing. I know that there's that video of that Iranian guy making an appeal to Trump. It's very important that we do not show that on the stream. That type of content is extremely triggering for people who are actively, you know what? A lot of people have been sharing that video on social media and it is extremely irresponsible. I wanted to give you the, yeah. So I think, like, guys, especially given that so many Iranians right now are not in a good situation, I think sharing that video could actually cause more people to consider it. So I think that maybe we shouldn't be touching on that topic
No, but
because I have gotten
I
so
wanted
many Iranians commenting, contacting me, saying that they want to do something similar, and I have had something a really hard time trying to get them out of it. So I
so
think we shouldn't
that's
even.
my point. I mean, that's
Yeah.
my point. I wanted to make more spread spread the thing that don't listen to what Trump says, what she's doing, what she's deeds, and like um, I wanted to say something to uh, is there a way to reach more Iranians to explain them that they shouldn't fall for that, like they should just wait, because explain them that there is a much more needed force rather than just a USS carrier ship, and that
Yeah, I mean that's what
if
we're
the
doing here. Yeah.
because the 12-day war is, if we compare it to,
So Daniel, you're trying to say that the war that Trump is preparing for requires a lot more preparation,
yes,
then
and
that's why it takes long. Okay.
let me just finish it. The 12-day war was like applying broke bone gips. I don't know how to say it in English. Like if you break a leg and you go to the hospital and they just apply you
It's the cast.
cast.
Yeah, it's a cast.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. And what is getting prepared is like super complicated operation where every wrong move can kill the patient. So it's like an open heart surgery right now. I just want to make this point so more Iranians would be able to understand it and understand that yes, they've lost a lot of relatives, friends, and etc. But the thing is that now is the time you wait and watch.
Yeah, I
And
just want to say, Daniel, I really do appreciate the fact that you care so much. Like, it means a lot. It does really mean a lot. Okay, I just want to say that.
the other thing is, I I, I can't actually maybe it's a question, I don't know, but I watched like the protests are massive, if I understand it clear, and I approximated like that there is 5 million Iranians out of Iran. Is that a correct number?
The number of Iranians outside of Iran, I thought it was 10 million. Do you want me to check? Do you want
Approximately.
me to check? I could double check.
Let's go on the minimal. And even if we have 5 million people that are out of Iran, let's say 10% of them is young, capable individuals, right? If the rest will fund them and those half a million and I'm lowering now the numbers. I'm sure there are much more. But if the rest funding those 500,000 and those 500,000 are getting military training,
Yeah, that's not
later on, they might be able to just get into Iran or maybe go by the Israel book, because Israel, what was in before the Israel was before the 1948, a lot of small militias such as Etzel, Lehi, Nili, and etc. were training in the French army, British army, prior to the World War II in the German army. Some of them were like in some Russian army or stuff like this. And then they just created militias inside Israel, and they was acting toward liberating Israel also in the underground way. And I believe this is a playable thing. It's a playable model for Iranians. Let me know what do you think of it.
Jeffrey, do you want to respond to that? But can you keep it like really short if possible? Thank you.
He's talking about how can you best leverage the pro-Iranian protest elements within the broader Persian diaspora and other co-aligned actors where they can support kinetic operations either within Iran, right, and or in support of Iranian protesters. There's a reason I keep pushing the idea of adopting Ukraine's model army. The best way to do that would be to have, considering you won't call me, so fuck it, I'll just say it here. It is to have people within the broader Persian diaspora to create self-sustaining nodes that then sit there and build asymmetric kinds of capabilities that are then directly used to kill Mullah regime targets inside Iran. That's what you need to do.
So,
period.
So Jeffrey, I was actually going to talk to you about today calling you. The reason why I haven't called you is not because I
wasn't mad
I
at you,
don't want.
Armin. I know you're juggling flaming chainsaws. Just like I'm not
Yeah,
frustrated with you. I'm just
just to
frustrated
let you
with
guys know, just to let you know, I did 12 hours of live streaming yesterday, like
I'm not
12
blaming
hours
you.
of. Yeah, okay.
Armin, I
So
wasn't blaming you. I'm
Jeffrey,
just blaming
what
the
do
process. That's
you
all.
are you on? Do you have like WhatsApp or something like
I
Telegram,
do.
WhatsApp? Okay, Telegram. Do you have Telegram by any chance?
Nope. I just have. I sent it to you in personal chat. I wasn't mad at you, Armin. I'm not mad at you. I'm just mad
Yes.
at
No,
the
I'm
fact that
actually
we're
very seriously.
operating.
By the way, I have a question because what you're suggesting requires, like, I don't even know if legally. I want to make sure, like, I have to talk to Susanna about
It
this
has
as
to be
well.
done legally. I understand that.
Because
That's
I
what I
don't
mean.
want to
Legally
go
done.
on my Persian YouTube channel and tell people like, "Hey guys, go make these weapons and this is how you fight." Like, basically, I could yeah. So we could talk
So
about
one of the things that-
No, no,
yeah, I
no,
know,
no,
I
no,
know.
no. Do
Okay,
not do it.
I'm gonna
Don't
continue.
do it. It's
So
bad.
what I was saying is that adopting Ukraine's model is they very much created like organizations that could legally provide and engage in such activities. That's why I said when I first came here, there's certain things you need to do. There's certain requirements you have to follow. There's certain regulations you have to meet. SNAP RR, State Department,
YouTube
ITAR.
community standards, YouTube community standards as well.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying, like, there's a reason I keep pushing Ukraine's model.
Yes, yes. The way that we might get the way that we might want to discuss this is not to tell people what to do at all, but just basically go over the news of what happened in Ukraine without ever suggesting anything to anybody. That might be, but we have to talk about that, right? So let's continue.
You do know that this is all being recorded right now, so your intention is completely obvious, right?
No, my intention, I am actually telling people that we're just sharing information that we don't know if people are going to find useful or not. And we don't even know if this is a good idea, but it's an information that needs to be out there for anybody that might find it useful from an educational perspective. I'm being completely honest about that. And also, I do know that talking about what people do inside a revolution, that is not a violation of YouTube standards, but we're not going to do that either way just to be safe. but I know that I've seen many other people do that anyways, because the understanding is that the Iranian people are basically fighting a just cause. Like, for example, when Ukrainians were fighting against Putin, there were many military analysts suggesting what the Ukrainians should do, how to fight back against Putin. None of that violated terms of service. But I'm not saying we're going to do that. I'm just saying that it can't be that bad given how many videos on YouTube were there discussing war strategy. So, but again, I am like, don't worry, Susie, we're not going to do anything without me talking to you first, okay? So, yeah. All right.
Okay, next we have Rebecca.
Hello, my question is for Armin. Given Islam's influence on day to day life and living, it seems likely to me that Islam can heavily influence cultures that are under its influence for long enough. However, many countries and cultures are under the influence of Islam and they are not all the same. Many of the bad things associated with Muslims are dismissed as culture in the West, but I don't think the vast majority are able to separate culture inspired by Islam and culture separate from Islam. So, of the Islamic nations and cultures that you know, are there any common cultural threads, practices, beliefs, and perceptions that you think can be traced back to Islam? If so, what are they? And are there any that buck the trend? Of those that do buck the trend, do you know why?
Wait, so to understand your question, you're suggesting that among all of the diverse cultures that we see in Islamic countries, can we identify which ones are Islamic? Is that what you're asking?
I'm wondering in what way Islam has influenced,
Right.
some of them and how and why, because there is this common thing in Western circles of, it's not Islam, it's just culture, you know.
Right.
And some of
So
it might be culture, but it might be culture inspired by Islam.
yeah, so we have to understand what we mean by culture and what we mean by Islamic, right? So when people say culture, they're talking about two different things, and they're so different that there should probably be two different words for it. So when there's one category A of culture are things like dance, music, calligraphy, architecture, food, fashion, right? These are category A. People refer to this as culture. And then category B is values, way of life, moral
Yeah.
standards. So that's category B. For category A, I think category A, there's no objective way to judge category A. It's all subjective, and different people have different tastes. And the more diverse, the better. It's fine, right? You could have as much of it as you want, and people could choose whether they want it or not, right? It's category B in culture that we usually worried about, which we could actually judge as superior and inferior, right? And they are objectively superior culture, or moral, values, and objectively inferior ones. And what we're trying to do is the category B culture. We're trying to basically eliminate the inferior ones and make the superior ones dominate everywhere, right? So that's what. So if we're talking about culture and Islam, I'm more concerned about the category B part, not the category A, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to Islam, so we have Islamic culture, right? Islamic culture, when it comes to category B, is basically Islamic values and Islamic morality, okay, Islamic standards, way of life, right? I'm not talking about the way the mosque looks. I'm not talking about Quranic calligraphy. I'm not talking about the Sufis dancing. That's category A. I'm talking about the values, the moral standards, the way of life. So that's Islamic culture. And to me, whatever is in the way you could determine if something is Islamic or not is not based on whether it's happening, is coming from the areas where Muslims happen to be living, right? So, for example, something could come from a place where many Muslims live, but the culture is pre Islamic or even un-Islamic or even anti-Islamic, right? To me, I determine whether or not it is Islamic or not based on the geography that it's come from, but based on whether or not there's any connection with it to the Hadith or the Quran, to the Sunnah, to Muhammad Sunnah or the Quran. If that's the source, I call it Islamic. That's how I identify something as Islamic. It's not based on what Muslims do, because Muslims are influenced by so many different things. It's based on whether or not it comes from the Quran and Hadith, right?
Yeah.
So is that a fair categorization in your opinion?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like in the UK we have problems with things like the grooming gangs and things like that, and there has
Right.
been accusations that there is a religious motivation tied to that, and
Right.
some
So
people are trying to, yeah.
this is how you determine whether or not. So there's two ways to look at it, right? So first of all, you look at it empirically, and then you look at the source material that might influence this type of behavior, right? So if you look at it empirically, you can see like honor killings and those types of behavior that you're mentioning is very common in Muslim communities, no matter what the background is, right? So for example, let's look at honor killing. Is honor killing Islamic? Well, if you look at Islamic communities, regardless of their history, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their previous culture or like their own ethnic or historical culture that was not Islamic, you can see that honor killing is very, very common in everywhere that is Islamic. Like it doesn't, if you control for ethnicity, it doesn't seem to be the thing. If you look at their non-Islamic culture, it doesn't seem to be the factor. If you control for everything else, it doesn't seem to be factor. But you can see that the places that have the highest amount of honor killing, there seems to be, like, if you compare Hindus versus Muslims compared like India and Pakistan, right? They have the same, like their ancient history is the same. They have the same mix of ethnicities. So many of there are many things about them that are the same, but one of them is mostly Hindu, the other one is Muslim, and you can see the Muslims have more honor killings than the Hindus. So it's just empirically, it just seems to have to do something with Islam. The problem is, like, a Muslim will come tell you, well, there's nothing in scripture, like in Hadith or the Quran, that endorses honor killing, right? And they would have a point. But this is how Islam is still to be blamed. Islam normalizes beating women. Islam normalizes the idea that you have ownership over women. Islam normalizes the idea that the shame associated for sexual misbehavior from the women in your family, that shame belongs to all of the family. So even though Islam doesn't have a command to, oh, go kill your daughter if she had like sex, with somebody that she shouldn't have, it doesn't say that. But the combination of these attitudes towards a woman and the cost associated with the shame coming from a woman in your family misbehaving sexually, it creates an environment where honor killing is more likely. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So also, for example, with this grooming gangs, or basically the idea that non-Muslim women are fair game, they're inferior to Muslim women, they're basically, these are non-Muslims, they're supposed to be property. Like Islam teaches all of that, right? Non-Muslim women are women that you could capture in war, and they're supposed to be property. You don't need to be treating them the same way that you treat Muslim women. These all are Islamic. And even if the people who do this don't really understand or follow Islamic teaching, the fact that the scripture has an effect into the general feelings that people in that community have towards certain groups of women. You know what I mean? So you don't
Yeah.
have to be a Islamic scholar to have this attitude or have this belief, but the fact that the mullah, the imam in your mosque believes that and says things like that, that it generally, and basically also teaches the mosque also have programs for your children, and it just creates base, a mindset as a base for everything to grow upon, that just take things in that direction on average. Not, again, not all Muslims think like that, but the average is basically moves toward leans towards that type of thinking. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
the effect is indirect. It's not like the Muslim goes and reads the hadith, or like, oh, okay, so I can do this. It doesn't work like that. It's more about the scripture having, it's more indirect. The scripture has an effect on, I mean, the imams or the mosque teachers or the teachers in schools, and they create a base, or like a framework. Basically, it's like the soil is rotten, and then what grows in it is rotten as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, nothing good grows out of it. It's not like the people follow the scripture word by word, but it just tends to move in that direction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next we have Mazi.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hope everybody's doing okay. Mr. Netanyahu going to visit the US this week. That would be a perfect surprise attack time. With the Islamic Republic thinking that they're safe till at least the weekend. But anyway, I was gonna say, I'm in June. I wanted to ask you, with this Khamenei coming out and telling people to, begging people to come out and for the 22nd of Bahman to come out to the streets, probably giving them free food or something to come out. I was just wondering, do you think that people would actually come out, or at least in big numbers, for the support? Because with all this killing that's been going on, I'm sure some of the basic regular folks that even supported the regime, they're probably thinking that if they come out, they could easily get identified by the people that have just lost all the loved ones and everything, and they might have their lives be threatened. You know what I mean? That way, because I'm sure they'd be scared of that. So I think that, I don't know, we might not even see very many show up because, if they do show up, they might have all masks and covered up, I guess.
So actually, before you continue, let me give context to people who might not know what you're talking about. So, guys, Khamenei just came out. He gave a speech, and in that speech, there's this part that he sounds like he's begging people to come out into the streets for the anniversary of Bisodoy Bahman. Bisodoy Bahman is the 22nd of Bahman, which is Bahman is a month on the Persian calendar, which I think it translates to February 11th, if I'm not mistaken, on the Gregorian calendar. So pretty soon, like in 2 days, right? So that is the time that is the anniversary of the Islamic Republic's victory over the Pahlavi. And the Islamic Republic basically every year advertise like one has these rallies where people come and celebrate the Islamic Republic's win. But in this speech that Mozi is referring to, Khamenei sounded like he was begging for people to come out, and he didn't seem like he didn't speak. He wasn't sure that he didn't sound like he was sure people will come. He didn't speak with the level of authority that he usually tries to speak. And Mozi is asking whether people will come. He thinks that people will come because after the massacre that the Islamic Republic committed, Mozi is wondering that maybe even some of the pro-regime people are not going to show up, right? I mean, Mozi, you might be correct, because or else Khamenei wouldn't be this concerned, right? This is why it's really, by the way, for other people, you have to understand that this is very important for the Islamic Republic, for people to show up in that rally. It's extremely important because right now Khamenei's main worry is that a lot of people from the regime who support the regime might defect because they think that the Islamic Republic is about to collapse. And if a lot of people don't show up in this rally, it's going to confirm that to a lot of people, and more people will defect. So it's very important for the Islamic Republic to show that everything has gone back to normal and they're not going to go anywhere. Because if more people from the regime get convinced that the Islamic Republic is going to fall at some point, they're going to be planning for their own survival, and it's just going to speed up the collapse. So this is crucial for the Islamic Republic to show a lot of people showing up, to show that it's not like the protests that happened in early January. A lot of people might think, a lot of people that demonstrated how to even regime supporters how unpopular the regime is. So they need to now show their numbers to be high as well, to demonstrate to them like, we have millions of supporters anyway, so we're not going to go anywhere. So Mozi, to answer your question, you have a good point, or else he wouldn't be begging for people to show up. However, one thing that you have to also keep in mind is, because this is such an important thing for this regime to happen, they're going to be doing anything all the tricks that they have been using in the past 47 years. They're going to go to all of them and try to do 10 times as much to get the people in the streets, right? So they're going to have food, they're going to be going to all government workers, which are a lot of them, and tell them that it's mandatory that they show up, or else they're going to get punished if they don't show up, right? They're going to empty the schools. They're going to go into all the high schools, elementary schools, and the one in the middle, Rahnamai, and they're going to basically say, bring all your students there, and it's going to be mandatory for the students to show up. They're going to bribe people. They're going to punish people. They're going to use a carrot and stick approach. So they're going to basically use all their resources to try to make sure a high number of people show up. So what do you think, by the way, Musi?
Yeah, well, I think you're probably right that there's going to be like higher amounts of security, and they probably are going to entice people to come out. And I also think that'll be really fitting with how these Arab proxies and all these groups always attacking Israel, like on their holy days, that it would be so fitting that if they decided to attack them on their big day coming up, it would be a very fitting. I think it would be like justice served right there. But another thing I was going to ask you was,
Before you move on to the other thing, I just want to
sorry.
also say that I wouldn't be surprised if they're gonna bring kebab, and they're going to make sure the smell of meat is going to be filling the streets, because remember, a lot of Iranians haven't been eating meat for a very long time because of the inflation, and filling the streets with the smell of kebab is going to be one of their strategies to get people, like, giving free food out there, especially for Iranians who can't afford food right now, is going to be one of their strategies to try to get people to come and join the protest.
Yeah, and it's all about optics for them. It's like, yeah, let's just try to get as much people out and try to make propaganda to see, oh, look, we have so many people that support us. Like, yeah, it's all a game they've been playing for 47 years. So I wouldn't be surprising that they try everything. You can see how many propaganda videos they have lately of, a defenseless USS Abraham Lincoln there. So I was gonna actually ask you, I was thinking we all know, and a lot of people that even when I talk to right inside of Iran, they know that the end is like coming. Like they know that no matter what, that this thing is not going to survive, even if it's going to take more lives, and even if there's no outside help, that it is coming, and it's going to be within a not too long of a period anymore. Do you think that I'm sure that some of the people in the regime know this too. Like, I know that they fill themselves with all this stuff and propaganda. They probably believe what they're saying, and maybe not the very closest ones to Khamenei, but I would think that some of the other ones, maybe just one level down, probably understand that it's coming. So what do you think that it would actually take for them to you know, pack their bags and leave, the sinking ship? Do you think, like, what is the actual thing that has to happen before they're like, okay, it's going to be too late for us and the people will get us? You know what I mean? Like, it's coming. We know it's coming 6 months down the road. So how long are we going to wait before we actually take off and leave?
I don't think they're convinced that they're going to be toppled. I think if they were convinced, a lot, like the ones who are convinced are already making plans for their own security. I think some of the reformers are convinced, and they're now trying to position themselves in the way to look like some of them, not all the reformers, but some reformers are positioning themselves to look like they were standing, they had the right position, so that maybe people will show mercy when everything falls apart. But I think that the calculation of some of the people with the Islamic Republic right now is that they will just come, like United States and Israel will just come bomb a couple of things, and then they will go back, and we will just have some costs associated with that, but we will recover. And the idea is that at the end of the day, all it takes for us to be in power is just to show the Iranian people that if they come into the streets, we'll just continue to shoot them in the tens of thousands, right? In their opinion, there is really nothing that could stop them from just basically continue to inflict maximum damage to the Iranians inside Iran who want regime change. And their understanding is that you can't do regime change from the air. So you come and bomb the different military bases or government buildings, and for any politicians that you kill, we have other ones who could take their place right away. And the only thing that would take us down is the Iranian people. And so far, it seems very easy to just shoot at unarmed people, so we're good. That's their calculation. But the main thing that they need to include in their calculation and therefore be terrified, in my opinion, is that their own people are defecting more and more every year. You know what I mean? Like they used to be at, I don't know, 12%. Then they had 12% support. Then they had 6% support. I don't know if they even have 4% support right now. I mean, if we keep going like this, like, can you keep staying in power with 1% support at some point? You know what I mean? Like, or 0.5% support. So there's three elements that they have to take into account, like external pressure, US and Israel, internal pressure number one, which is the Iranian people wanting to topple the regime, but internal pressure number two, division among themselves, infighting, and people defecting. That, I think, the third element is what eventually will take them down, and they need to take that, like, if that should be the thing that terrifies them. But right now a lot of them feel safe because, like, look, even like millions of people showed up in the streets, we shot at them, they're back home now,